everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Echo of Futurepast #1 from July 1984. This was an anthology comic published by Continuity Comics. That was Neal Adams' comics company. And this is very unlike everything else they published. It was basically really crappy superhero comics. But this was a more mature attempt to kind of be like Heavy Metal or Epic Illustrated, and doesn't have a comics code, so they could get away with more stuff. But man, I was buying these off the stands when I was a kid, and one of my favorites. I was very sad when this was canceled after 9 issues. And if you've watched my channel at all, you realize that I love anthology comics. When I was a kid, those were the things I was most excited to run to the newsstand to buy. The sad thing is they never lasted long. Most of them didn't even last past like 3 or 4 issues. So I was constantly being elated and deflated by anthology comics. This is one that stuck in my mind all these years, and I still really like the lineup in here. I haven't looked at these in a while, though, so I'm kind of it was exciting last night to check this out again. Nice way to start off. We got a Neal Adams painted cover, and this was a real treat back then because in 1984, Neal Adams was not, making art like this anymore. He just kind of had this dumbed down style. It was Neal Adams, so it was better than most superhero comic artists, but not nearly as good as the height of his powers. And also was not doing this nice painting like he did in the 70s for his portfolios and his paperback covers. So I suspect this is an older painting that he brushed off to use as the first cover. Pretty nice, though. We start off with an introduction by Neal Adams. His kind of like a mission statement for the anthology. He mentions things that they won't be doing in this comic. We won't run stories that make you wonder if you're stupid because you can't seem to figure out the plot, even if the artwork is fabulous. I think that's a chop on Heavy Metal there. And I do like how he says we won't be running long articles on esoteric artists. Because I really do not like when comics have like articles in them. It's like, I'll buy a magazine if I want an article. Just give me more comics. Kind of nicely designed contents page here. And I like this how every story has a little introductory page. And this first story is the first chapter of Bucky O'Hare, created and written by Larry Hama and illustrated by Michael Golden. Illustrated beautifully by Michael Golden. And this is a kind of fun stuff. It's a sci-fi funny animal comic. And I guess it was kind of popular because they even made a Saturday morning cartoon of this back in the 80s. I think it just lasted a season, if at all, maybe half a season, I don't know. But I love these comics, and, mainly because I love Michael Golden. But seeing Michael Golden draw funny animals, he's really good at it. God, I just wish I had this comic when I was 8 years old. I probably would have, my head would have exploded. So we basically meet our hero, Bucky O'Hare, and we meet the intrepid crew of the Righteous Indignation, which is their frigate. All of these guys are members of the Sentient Protoplasm Against Colonial Encroachment, SPACE for short. And they're basically like the Federation in Star Trek, they're the good guys. So next to Bucky O'Hare, we meet Jenny. She's the main pilot / navigator. We meet Dead-Eye Duck, and he's basically looks like Daffy Duck with 4 arms, and he's kind of the weapons guy. We meet Blinky, the cute little asteroid, and we have the chief navigator here, Bruce, the Beetlejuicean berserker baboon. And apparently the engines are shot, and they're really far gone, which is not good news because these toad ships, they're like the evil empire, the toads. These toad ships are totally pursuing them and firing on them. One of the blasts incinerates Bruce, the chief engineer into powder, basically. So they're just screwed. They're trying to escape these toads. They can't make it to warp drive. That's the only chance they have. But since the engines are messed up, they can't take the chance. They might end up in the middle of a star or something, you know? The dialogue of the toads is very goofy. They're basically a bunch of chuckleheads. So this is definitely played for, you know, it's lighthearted for kids. It's like a great old funny animal comic, you know? Oh, man. More Michael Golden funny animal comics, please. So basically, they're done for. And the toads are about to obliterate them. So Bucky just says, guys, we got to just risk a warp jump. I mean, we're going to die anyway, so let's just do it. And he activates the warp drive. Now we cut away to San Francisco in our world. And we meet this little kid named Willie. And this sequence kind of reminds me of Time Bandits. Also kind of reminds me of a lot of children's stories where, you know, you got the smart kid and the parents just don't understand him, even though they're well-meaning. They're not bad parents, but they just don't really listen to their kid and kind of ignore him. And this kid kind of wishes his parents would ignore him more because his parents are these, like, aging hippies, kind of bougie hippies, you know? They're pretty rich, but they're like, Willie, aren't you going to come with us to the No Nukes rally today? And he's like, Mom, you know I just care about science. I don't want to go. I just like science. And the parents are just kind of, you know, they don't get him. So they leave for their rally, and he walks upstairs to his bedroom. And I guess he's been working on this particle accelerator. So he's kind of a genius, this little kid. And he pulls the crank down, and all of a sudden, the lights go out. It's not the electricity, because it wasn't even nighttime. In fact, the sun was streaming through the windows. Even the sun is all of a sudden blacked out. I wanted to point out here, though, you know, this is very Michael Golden style, but this is almost like Michael Golden style pushed way past the limit. And I gotta say, some of these heads and faces of Willie are just a little too fucking grotesque and weird. I mean, I love Michael Golden, but some of these faces are just too much. They're almost like Walter King paintings. Look how huge his eyes are. It's just silly looking. So it's weird. He goes to the window, and the darkness actually is palpable. It's got a slick texture, and it gives like week-old blackberry gelatin. So he's starting to get scared. He's like, I kind of wish I wasn't home alone. What the hell's going on? The clock is going crazy. He turns on the TV, and he's picking up transmissions of the toads from the other dimension. And he looks at his photon accelerator. It's still working. So he's totally confused. He's baffled. And then all of a sudden, he hears a knock on his door. And he says, who or what was that? And that's the end of this chapter. Next chapter, Doorway to Danger. So I can't wait for that. Next, we have Tippy Toe Jones, created and written by Lindley Farley and illustrated by Louis Mitchell. And I don't know much about Lindley Farley. I don't think she did much comics after this. Neither did Louis Mitchell, but I did find out on the internet, Louis Mitchell ended up being like the chief artistic creator for Sesame Street. It's a very odd little comic. Tippy Toe Jones meets the Bad News Brothers. So here we meet those brothers. They're mugging this guy. And I guess he doesn't have money, so they just stab him. They really are bad news. Tippy Toe Jones is walking across the street. The brothers see him, and they start coming after him. They tackle him, start pounding him. And they're just about to stab him when two coppers show up. And these cops are really dumb. Very unobservant police officers. They're just talking to the brothers. And they're like, all right, brothers, just don't get in any trouble. And then they walk right over the unconscious body of Tippy-Toe Jones without a thought and just continue on their way. I guess dealing with the cops, one of the brothers says, I'm not even worked up enough to knife this guy. Let's just go get a beer. Later on, the cop wakes up Tippy-Toe Jones and basically is just giving him shit for sleeping in the street. And he says, "No, officer, you don't understand. 2 vicious thugs try to kill me." And the cop's like, "Oh, it sounds like the Bad News Brothers to me." He says, "Why don't you stop them?" He says, "Oh, we've tried with little success. These rogues will stop at nothing, including buying a new fleet of police Mercedes-Benzes for the department." So apparently these guys they've got everyone in their pocket, and they're above the law. So Tippy-Toe Jones realizes that he's going to have to take the law in his own hands. If the cops can't stop the Bad News Brothers, he will. He goes out searching for him, finds them mugging this old lady. And he basically threatens them, so they come running after him. Like, basically, they're like, "You're dead." And Tippy-Toe Jones takes off his head and rolls it at them like a bowling ball and knocks them off his feet. A little while later, that moronic cop shows up and says, "Good work there. Do you have any parting words for them before I run them in?" And Tippy-Toe Jones is like quoting the Bible, this obscure quote, and the cop says, "What does that mean?" And Tippy-Toe Jones says, "When you fuck around with Tippy-Toe Jones, you can expect to get fucked." So this is just a little introductory tale. I guess in number 5, a Tippy-Toe Jones story series will start in this comic, but it's never finished. Next we have Frankenstein, Count Dracula, Werewolf by Neal Adams. And this was a story that was actually made for a Power Records LP comic book set in the mid-70s. We actually looked at that record on our Sleeves to Astonish episode. So it's not much different. It looks like Neal Adams might have tweaked the art a little here and there, but it's pretty much the same story. But it's just serialized in this. So they break it up into a few chapters. I'm pretty sure that logo is different too. So I'll go over it quickly since we already looked at this story just 2 months ago. So we got the nephew of Frankenstein. He's with his wife, Erica. They're being chased by these wolves. And just when it looks like they're about to be eaten, this guy shows up, this mysterious figure. And the wolves instantly become docile at his command. This guy introduces himself. He says his name is Vlad. That's not a good sign, but he's really nice to them. He says, "You guys should come stay at my castle." Victor says, "If you knew my heritage, I don't know if you'd be so sure to invite us to your home. I'm the nephew of Baron von Frankenstein." And Vlad is like, "Tut tut, young man. Your uncle was actually a friend of mine. I would be honored if you stayed at my castle with me." On the way there, Victor tells the story of how they ended up in this neck of the woods. After the villagers killed his uncle in the original book, they came for him just because his last name's Frankenstein. They're like, "Yeah, we just ate all Frankensteins." So Victor and Erica barely escaped with their life and have been on the run ever since. Inside the castle, Vlad is incredibly courteous, is a great host. Victor and Erica separate for a little while so they can bathe. And Victor hears a scream while he's bathing. It's Erica. He can't find her anywhere. And then Vlad comes out. And he says, "What you seek is behind these doors." And Victor opens the doors. And there's a laboratory taken from his uncle's notes. It's all the machinery that his uncle used to use. And basically Vlad says, "You will build me an unthinking servant, just like your uncle made his creature. I want one for my own, and I don't have the know-how to do it." Turns out Victor assisted his uncle. So he knows the science. And he basically says, if you don't, I'll kill Erica, your beautiful bride. So Victor agrees to do it. And that's the end of chapter 1. This next one's crazy. It's Virus by Jean Tertullet. And I looked this guy up. He was in a few heavy metals. He's a French artist, but he really didn't have that many stories. He didn't do that many comics. And this is definitely, on the more mature side. This could be in heavy metal. And basically Virus is this horrible person. He's kind of a madman. He affects people in the same way as a virus does. He attacks healthy cells and destroys them. Something is wrong with his wiring. If you listen to his words, you'll never be the same again. So we see this woman sunbathing, and Virus lays down next to her, and he starts asking her these creepy, weird questions. And basically, he leads her through this crazy, logical path to the conclusion that Jesus was an alien, and his blood must be green, because the blood on the Shroud of Turin is green, which proves that Jesus was an alien. And this woman's just like, I don't know, that sounds crazy. And then all of a sudden, this blood splatters her, but it's green. And Virus is slashing his own neck and spilling it on her. The woman freaks out. She shrieks and runs down the shore, waving her arms. And Virus is just gloating. He's like, hey, a bit of green vegetable dye and a theater knife, and voila, instant hysterics. And then, as if in answer to an unspoken wish, this innocent little girl comes up and says, that wouldn't have scared me. You can tell me a story. And the narrator says, yes, what a perfect little idiot. She'll get a story one she'll never forget. And then it's to be continued. Pretty creepy way to end that. Next. This is nice. We get Mudwogs by Arthur Suydam. And these are reprints of stories that appeared in heavy metal. And in the introduction it says, but this is not a reprint. Rather, it is a reintroduction of Arthur Suydam and his incredible creation. Which that just sounds like bullshit to me. These are just reprints. Maybe he retouched the art. I don't know. They look pretty much like they did in heavy metal. I remember these in heavy metal. But it's, at the time when I was 14 or whatever I was, or 16, I did not have those heavy metals. So this was a revelation to me. I knew about Arthur Suydam from Epic Illustrated already and loved his stuff. So I was thrilled to get more of it. God, just look at this beautiful painted art. He's so good. I don't know if this guy's name is Mudwog. But he's like the main character. He's got this giant nose. And Suydam definitely plays it for laughs. Even though this art is like just amazing fantasy illustration. It's very goofy. This is like an example of some of his goofiness. He who hesitates is lost when rolling stones get none of the moss. A penny earned is not so good as a nickel stole. We see these two frog guys, and they're lying in wait for Mudwog. And Mudwog's like, I'm late for a very important date. He's just laughing like a goon. So the frogs try to stop him. And without even slowing down, Mudwog just totally kicks their asses. Slits this frog's belly right open. And the other one he just chops up into body parts. This great lettering too. This stuff is so nice. So he actually, he's in such a hurry, he grabs this bird that's flying by and he hitches a ride with him. Look at this panel. It's so nice. I guess I could say that about every panel in this. And then I guess The bird can't hold him up any longer, so he crashes down right on top of this woman nursing her baby. And he knocks the baby to the ground, and the woman topples over. And he's just like, no time for dancing or lovey-dovey. I ain't got time for that now. A little Talking Heads reference. This is very odd. The woman is looking as he runs away. She's got a thought balloon with a heart in it, as if now she's in love with him just because he landed on her. It's pretty weird. Arthur Suydam definitely has like an underground comic sensibility, even though he draws like a Renaissance master. So he continues on his way, huffing and puffing, just a little further. And he finally makes it to the top of this mountain, and there's his lady love, this giant woman. And he starts pitching woo to her. Your lips am like 2 fat earthworms in the spring. Hike up your drawers and sit yourself down on this, babe. That's his way of pitching woo, of being charming. So he's still holding onto that bird that he was hitched a ride with. And then he throttles its neck. I guess he's going to cook it up for her. And finally, he's coughing and hacking. And he says, crush me and mush me in your wigwam of wonton wuff. Your sizzling, scintillating suckwuck. This is amazing language there. I think James Joyce would be jealous of that. And then he keels over in the middle of his woo pitching. And he's lying there on the ground just saying, love wreaks havoc on the leg bones. So after all that shit he went through to get to her, he's just too exhausted now. He collapses. We have another Mudwog story. There's this tiny town, Papadinkanov, and this giant shows up, this guy. I love this, how his necklace, he's got his little charm. It looks like an automobile, a convertible. And he's just going through the town, just causing havoc. I love this. He leans over into this cathedral and lets out a mighty fart. And it just cleans out the cathedral. Everyone runs screaming from it. It just fills it with gas. Then he starts stomping on people. Starts eating them. I is anarchy. The whole time he has this like weird little beatnik poem he's saying. Look at me twice and I'm going to pop your head like a pimple. I'm the pit in your fruit, the boil on your back, the mold on your cheese, I'm the bug in your soup. And he's saying all of this while he's just terrorizing people and killing them. Oh, God, this art is so nice. So he picks up this woman and he just splits her in two. He lights a cigar with this woman's burning hair. Me mammy was a buzzsaw and me pappy was a bear trap. This is living. And then the townspeople are trying to like, basically they're trying to pull him with this rope. And they totally fail. And then it kind of has this wistful ending. He looks over and he sees this giant woman, like his size, this beautiful giantess. And he's staring at her longingly. And he's ripping the heads off of these people saying, she loves me not. She loves me. Rip, tear, mangle. Just crazy over the top shit. We have a little coming attraction for Future Echo number 2. And some ads. I wanted to point this out. This is really gross to me. I guess Neal Adams was trying to create these characters for licensing purposes. So these are what he comes up with. And, you know, these are kind of cute, Bigfoots, and they're these cute little animals. But then he has this one called Canimals. And one of the characters is named Cannibal, and they all just have no vowels at the end. Cuddle, Tickle. One of them is called Fondle. It's so gross. Nibble. And then these are repulsive. Little Draggles. And I love how these are supposed to be 3 hip kids. He's wearing a No Nukes t-shirt. So we know he's cool. And this guy's cool because he's carrying an electric guitar and his t-shirt says rock on it. So I'm sorry I wasted your time, but I just had to point this out. This is just so obscene to me. And I'm very glad that Neal Adams wasn't successful with this. Okay, guys, Echo of Futurepast number 1. Oh my God, I can't wait till I get to look at the next one. Because like I said, I haven't looked at these in a long time. So it was really fun checking this one out, and I can't wait to see what's coming up. So I hope you enjoyed watching today's video, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.